I'm fixing it. I'm filming it. We have here a 2008 Jeep Cherokee, and he's got two problems with it. One problem is the auto seat doesn't go back and forth when the engine is turned on and turned off. We all know that's an easy fix. But his other problem is his radio intermittently works. So when it's minus 30, it might work, and then when it's plus 30. So hopefully that's just a loose connection, maybe something on the circuit board. That'll be a little bit more in depth. But first things first, let's get the seat working. So what's supposed to happen on these things is when you turn the ignition off, the seat goes all the way back. When you turn the ignition on, the seat moves to your position. So he told me he had the battery replaced, and so I'm pretty sure we just got to tell the seat its maximum and minimum position. So we'll get the vehicle started, and we'll move the seat back and forth a few times, and let's see if we can get it working. Go to his button here, and so that's the seating position. So what should happen is when you turn the vehicle off, the seat should go back by itself. Okay, it's going back. So now when you start it, it should go to his normal position where he wants it. There it works. Well, that was an easy fix. How much do you think I should charge it? At least 3 hours of labor, right? There you go. Okay. That's the easy problem, like I said. The other problem is radio's not working. Let's see about that. Okay. So, when he turns it on, something should come on the radio. Nothing's coming on. First things first, why don't we check a fuse? Lift up those two tabs, and it's this guy right here. What you have to do is kind of push in the tabs and pull it up. And you still don't have access to the fuses. You just got to lift this little cover up out of the way, push it back down, and you could individually check the fuse, but I want to make sure power is getting to the fuses, and likewise, so push them back down into it. Okay, now we should be getting full power now. I usually just use a 12 volt tester, but it's pretty bright outside, so we'll use our multimeter so you can actually see the voltage. So go to DC voltage and about 20 volts. Battery's convenient here, put negative to negative, and let's see if we're getting, I'll test this 20 amp fuse. Okay, we're getting voltage on one side of it. How about the other side? There you go. So we know that fuse is working and it's getting power there. Check out this other 15 amp. 14 volts, yeah, good. Let's check on the other side of the fuse. Okay, so we know the fuses are good and we know power is getting to it and through it. Okay, now underneath, you see this panel right here? That's where the other fuses are. So you gotta have to kind of push that tab and pull down on the door itself. Right there is fuses. Not the easiest to get at, but what we got to look for is there is a 30 amp fuse. There's only one 30 amp fuse, and it's that green one, and then about 3 or 4 spots down is a red one. That's a 10 amp. Now those two have to be working. The 30 amp I believe is for the amplifier, and that 10 amp I think that's for the fuse that goes to the radio controls on your back of your steering wheel. Okay, so let's check both of those fuses, make sure they're good and power is going to them and past them. With the ignition off, voltage on that green one at 30 amp on both sides, and you have to turn the ignition on to get voltage on the other side of that 10 amp fuse, but all checks out, so those fuses are good. Well, I was afraid of that. Looks like we gotta take apart some stuff here to get to that radio. Okay, to get to this radio, we actually gotta go start here first and remove this bezel. Pops up. There we go. Now we can pop up this bezel. And it's nice to have a tool set like this, different pullers and plastic stuff. Let's try this one. There you go, nice and easy, snappy, snappy. There we go. Now we can remove this bezel.
We're going out first, Jerry.
This whole bezel will come off as one piece, so be gentle. Oh, let's get this out of the way.
Oh, here they are.
Parking brake on. There's a small little clasp up here, so be careful. There we go. And let's just set this to the side here. And let's get this back in gear so we can pull the key out. Hey! Power seat keeps on working. Okay, so looks like we need okay, so we need to remove these 4 screws, and you can either use a Phillips or a number 7mm socket. Well, we'll have to find where that one went. Now this should just, it's a tight fit, but gently remove it. And there we are, radio's out. Heavy sucker. Okay. First things first, let's disconnect all this stuff and examine it. Or, first things first, let's put the key in and wiggle some of these wires. Let's see if it comes to life. So I'm getting nothing. Okay, so wiggling the wires didn't help. Okay, so let's disconnect all the wires and let's examine the socket, see if we can find any burned stuff. There's like little tabs underneath you gotta lift up. Okay, so there we go. That's off. Now what I want to do is examine any of these connections, see if we have a burn mark in them. Because sometimes these connectors might not make a good connection. No burn mark there, so there's like it's not arcing out. So what's going on? So what's going on? And there's something that one probably said. Okay, so these connections look kind of good. What does the radio look like? So again, examine the pins, see if there's any weird dark spots, meaning that it was arcing out. Nice and shiny, everything looks nice and shiny. Okay, it looks like we gotta take a look at this radio. Let's head inside to my test bench and let's take a look at this. Okay, let's get this radio apart, but just for people that maybe want to replace your hard drive, pretty easy. Just 2 screws to access your hard drive, and it actually says screws for hard drive service. So there's just 2 right here. And gently lift it up. And yeah, there should be a cable connected to it, so gently try to get that cable out. There we go. And that's what that'll look like. In case you need to know, there's the hard drive part number. Okay, and that's what that'll look kind of like inside. Now to remove this, get it to the top, and we first have to remove, this is the CD tray, and 2 long screws. Now this should just tilt up. Sometimes you gotta pry it a little bit. Where's my pry bar? There you go. Get your fingers underneath it and then it should lift. Don't go too high because you have a ribbon cable here. And to get that, you just lift up that black part. Even your fingernail can get to it. There we go. And then that should pop off, and there's your... Now, next thing to do is to remove the body from the control panel. And there is 1 screw that you need to take off, and it's in the center. Now, what you have to do is kind of spread this out a little bit, the metal, and that front should lift away, but don't go too far, just go far enough so you can lift up these 2 cables off of its plug. There's 1, there we go, there's 2, and there's the front part, it's gone. Okay, so this is what it'll look like. Now let's examine the circuit board. Just these 2 screws here. Okay, screw. No, these 2 look like a stand, so that's okay. So let's get these off. So far they're the same length, that's good. That one, this one here, to one side. To back. First things first, let's disconnect the cable. There's a cable here that we have to disconnect, either from this circuit board or that circuit board. We'll disconnect it here. Okay, that's disconnected. So this should now just pull out. Okay, there it was. This one comes off. And that kind of looks like that's holding a bit of the fan assembly. There we go. That circuit board is loose, I can tell now. So we should just be able to kind of lift it up a little bit. And it should pull out. There we go. One circuit board removed. That's kind of all that's left. Looks like that one screw, these two screws will remove that module. Okay, so let's examine all of this and see if I can find anything. You want to take apart this circuit board here. It's these two screws and the plug for the fan, and then that should just lift off this plug in here. And you'll be able to examine that there. So I'll get that done and there. Okay, all put back together. Let's cross our fingers. That one cable was a little bit loose, but other than that, I couldn't find anything wrong. In case you want to know, here's the information. An NTG4RER. No. Well, let's go put this back together, and I don't know, cross our fingers. I couldn't find anything wrong.